Everybody, this is a presentation on Esports Psychology, and it is by Mike Gashgarian, Seth Williams, Kevin Yu, Frank Bruckner, and William Baloga. To talk a little bit about the roles of an esports psychologist, they work with individuals, teams, and coaches to establish a common goal between them, as well as they manage negative and positive behaviors. Just a couple of the main responsibilities of an esports psychologist, they would be to build a relationship between the player, team, and coach, as well as to undergo certain techniques to achieve a common goal. So this can be a structured team activity to increase the bond between players, as well as communication strategies to use in gameplay. So when looking at required experience in relation to a sports psychologist, they need a doctoral degree plus 2 years of supervision, as well as an undergraduate degree in either sports psychology or a general psychology degree.
The team members are what the esports psychologist interacts with most because they need to give them instruction on how to manage their emotions and think rationally. There are 3 main qualities that I believe an esports psychologist should have. The first one is listening, because the psychologist needs to be able to take in the information the players give them to be able to form an effective response. The next quality that I believe a psychologist should have is empathy, because it allows connection. It allows them to be able to freely talk to each other about their emotions more effectively. The last quality an esports psychologist should have is to be able to learn from their mistakes, because in their profession, they may not be prepared for everything that life throws at them, but they need to be able to learn from their failures and become better in the end.
A sports psychologist's typical salary ranges between 60 to 80,000, with the highest reaching over 100,000 according to the APA, but you have to take into consideration their extra schooling. For a esports psychologist salary, they would have to enter the private industry, and this is where their pay range would be. Because they have a niche client, they're able to achieve higher pay also. Current news and trends is that psychology in general is getting rid of the stigma, and as a result, it's trickling down into sports. Esports is important because the stress level is higher. And current trends is that esports teams are partnering up with medical teams. For example, the Magic Gaming is partnering with Orlando Health, and Orlando Health is going to provide them services, not only physical but also mental services for their athletes.
What is needed because of the high stress? It helps individuals and teams reach their potential skill level and manage their stresses. It's also high expectations on the players, coach the coaches, and team building. Sports psychologists, most start out as these sports psychologists. They're virtually the same challenges for the athlete, whether they are traditional sports or esports athletes, and it also monitors fatigue levels. Mia Stelberg is most well known for her role in esports. She is a pro gaming psychologist. She is Australia's team, her entrance to esports, and she focuses on how to manage your state of mind. And lastly, Lars Robel and Magus worked with gaming team Australia's. The team went from good to great, and they focused on mental health as it relates to conditioning.
Time for some unique aspects. Many esports psychologists are often offered a coaching spot for an esports team, according to Pinnacle.com. Many players don't ask what they can do better, rather they share their flaws and look to improve on them. This allows for players to admit when they were wrong. More unique aspects. Esports psychologists don't need to be an esports professional athlete or amazing accolades. An esports psychologist is able to identify what esports players go through, and they don't specifically have to have gone through what players have gone through themselves in order to help them. And all in all, it is key to remember that an esports psychologist does not always warrant success. There are real parallels between a sports psychologist and an esports psychologist, and most importantly, esports psychologists may bring success, but they are not the only factor in creating a successful esports team.